This film begins by showing a cargo ship called Genesis that is docked at one of the docks in New Orleans. A group of people unloaded several containers from the cargo ship and immediately delivered them to the city center by truck. In the meantime, a man named Biggie gathered drug dealers from all over New Orleans to distribute power, the pill that grants various superpowers for 5 minutes to anyone who takes it. Biggie gave the power pills for free to the drug dealers and gave them the freedom to sell the drugs at any price they wanted. 6 weeks later, a girl named Robin Riley, who was also a drug dealer, intended to sell 3 power pills to a group of teenage boys for $500. However, instead of paying the agreed price for the pills, the teenage boys wanted to steal the pills from Robin, so they got into a fight. Robin soon became overwhelmed as she was surrounded by teenage boys who did not hesitate to beat her up even though they knew she was a girl. Fortunately, a police officer named Frank Shaver arrived in time to save Robin. One of the teenage boys intended to take the power pill to fight Frank, but he then hesitated after Frank told him that there was someone who had taken the pill and immediately exploded, and also several other cases that indicated that not everyone got superpowers that benefited them, because the pill actually hurt them. Seeing the indecisive teenage boys, Frank quickly grabbed the pill and chased the teenage boys away while pretending to handcuff Robin. After making sure the teenage boys had gone far enough, Frank freed Robin and gave her $500 to pay for the power pill he took from the teenage boy. In addition, Frank, who has been friends with Robin for a long time, gave Robin a used motorbike as a birthday present, and Robin seemed very happy with the gift. The next day, a man named Art arrived in a slum area and went to the house of a young man named Newt. When Newt opened the door while pointing a gun at Art, he asked why Art had come to him. Art replied that he intended to buy power pills in large quantities and came to Newt after getting information that Newt was the drug dealer who distributed the pills. Upon hearing that, Newt told Art to wait outside while he went to get the pills. However, Art secretly entered Newt's house and pointed his gun at Newt while asking him about the person who had supplied the power pills to the drug dealers throughout New Orleans. Instead of giving the information to Art, Newt swallowed a power pill which made his entire body burst into flames and then attacked Art. Realizing that it was impossible for him to defeat Newt, who gained superpower after swallowing the pill, Art chose to run away rather than fight Newt. On the other hand, Newt, who lost his superpower after 5 minutes, then decided to increase his superpower by taking 3 power pills at once and immediately chased Art. In an attempt to escape from Newt, Art realized that Newt was vulnerable to water, so he wet his jacket and filled water into the bathtub. Art then ambushed Newt with his jacket and pushed him into the bathtub, then interrogated him to get information about the supplier of the power pills in New Orleans. Newt was reluctant to tell Art at first, but he began to run out of steam and informed Art that he got the power pills from a man named Biggie. However, before Newt told Art the location of Biggie's whereabouts, Newt suffered an overdose that made his body suddenly explode. Fortunately, Art managed to survive and only suffered minor burns on his hands. On the other hand, Robin, who only lives alone with her mother who is seriously ill, prepares to go to school while her mother is watching television reporting on a fire incident that occurred in a slum area. Mrs. Riley then told Robin to call Newt because the fire incident occurred in the area where Newt lived, and she seemed worried about Newt, who was Robin's cousin. However, Robin calmed her mother down by saying that Newt would be fine and then went to school by motorbike. After changing his clothes and treating his wounds, Art, who had previously managed to get Newt's mobile phone, was suddenly surprised by a message from Robin asking about Newt's condition. Art, who thought that Robin knew about Biggie, replied to the message as if he was Newt and asked Robin to meet him somewhere. Robin, who thought that it was Newt who had replied to her messages, sent a reply saying that she would meet him. On the other hand, Frank and his colleague, Landry, received information about a bank robbery. However, upon arriving at the crime scene, Captain Crane ordered them to retreat, saying that the robbery would be handled by a group of men wearing black suits. Frank, who realized that the robbery was carried out by someone with superpowers, decided to ignore his captain's orders and sneak into the bank through the back door. Before starting the action, Frank swallowed the power pill, then set his stopwatch for 5 minutes and rushed into the bank. But unexpectedly, the bank robber named Griff turned out to have a power that could make him invisible and camouflaged, so he could easily attack Frank and escape from that place. Frank rushed after Griff, who deliberately caused chaos on the streets to block Frank. However, Frank persisted in pursuing Griff until he finally managed to knock him down in an alley. Unfortunately, Griff then grabbed Frank's gun and shot him right in the head. At the same time, Landry and the other police officers arrived at the place and immediately shot Griff to bring him down. Surprisingly, Frank was still alive because he got the power that hardens his skin, effectively making him bulletproof. However, this power doesn't give invulnerability, but just lowers the amount of damage received to the point Frank doesn't receive any serious injuries. Frank rushed up and managed to knock Griff down a few seconds before the effects of the power pill disappeared. Even though Frank managed to catch Griff, Crane told him to hand over his gun and badge because he was disappointed in Frank for breaking the law by taking the power pill. However, Frank argued that he would die if he didn't take the pill. Frank angrily said that he was fed up with the men in black suits, who always took over every criminal case related to the power pill that should be handled by the New Orleans Police Department. Frank then tried to convince Crane that the men in black suits didn't care about the safety of the citizens of New Orleans, and asked him to work together to stop the distribution of the power pills without having to submit to the men in black suits. Upon hearing that, Crane then showed Frank a picture of Art, saying that Art was the dealer of the power pills, and if Frank wanted to stop the distribution of the power pills from New Orleans, then Frank had to arrest him. In the meantime, Art waited for Robin's arrival at a diner all day, because he didn't know exactly when Robin usually met with Newt. Robin finally arrived at the diner at night, and Art immediately recognized Robin, who thought that Newt was in the restaurant's restroom and called out his name. Since Newt didn't show up, Robin decided to go home, but when she arrived at the parking area, she found that someone had slashed the tires of her motorbike, so Robin was forced to go home on foot with her motorbike. While passing through a deserted area, Art suddenly ambushed Robin and put her in his car boot. Art then interrogates Robin to get information about Biggie, but Robin insists that she doesn't know Biggie at all and that she only got the power pills from Newt. Art, who still doubts Robin, tells her that Newt is dead and threatens to beat Robin up if she refuses to tell the truth. Robin tried to convince Art that she didn't know about Biggie because Newt never told her anything. Art then showed Robin a photo, and Robin confirmed that she did not recognize the two people in the photo. Unbeknownst to Art, Robin secretly asks for help by sending a text message to Frank. Elsewhere, Biggie approaches his boss, a woman named Gardner, to inform her that they will be demonstrating how the power pills work to a wealthy potential investor who has connections to all the cartels in South America. Unable to get any information from Robin, Art told Robin to call the operator who usually connected Newt with the power pill supplier. When Robin called the operator, she was told to come to a supermarket and mention a password that would distinguish her from the regular customers at the supermarket. Upon arrival at the supermarket, Art then told Robin to go in and get information about the supplier, while he pretended to be a regular customer who would observe Robin from a distance. But unfortunately, Art lost track of Robin when a customer distracted him by asking something. On the other hand, Robin was apparently taken to a secret room at the back of the supermarket building and met a man named Gello, who then asked where Robin knew the operator's phone number. Robin replied that Newt had given the phone number to her in case something bad happened to him. Gello, who knew that Newt was dead, then asked Robin about the cause of Newt's death. Robin then told Gello about Art, who's telling her to come to the supermarket to get information about Biggie. Upon hearing that, Gello then took the power pill from the drawer and rushed to swallow the pill before facing Art. Meanwhile, Art, who was trying to find Robin's whereabouts, finally encountered Gello and they got into a fierce fight until Art finally managed to knock Gello down. On the other hand, Robin turns out to be in a container on a truck, and when Art is involved in a fight with Gello, the truck suddenly moves, so Robin then gives a signal to the driver to stop the truck. The truck driver then shot at Art and managed to injure him, but Art was still able to get up and managed to kill him. The wounded Art then entered the container and tried to calm Robin, who was crying in fear. Inside the container, Art and Robin find a computer that shows the location of the power pills that they have distributed throughout the city of New Orleans. Art explained that they were distributing the power illegally because the government had banned the power pills. Therefore, the residents of New Orleans who bought the pills were nothing but guinea pigs for drugs whose manufacture and distribution were prohibited by the government. Art, who was informed through the monitor screen that Biggie and Gardner would demonstrate how the power works to an investor, then asked Robin to take him to the location. However, Robin runs away, and at the same time, Gello turns out to be able to bounce back despite being badly injured because he gets an ability of spontaneous regeneration, allowing him to heal with increased speed from a lizard. Robin, who was trying to get out of the supermarket, was suddenly intercepted by Gello, who then hit her. Gello thought that Robin conspired with Art, so he tried to kill Robin. But fortunately, Art arrived in time to save Robin, then stabbed Gello repeatedly to ensure that Gello really died this time. The badly wounded Art then begged Robin to help him as he handed Robin some money and said that he had to find his daughter immediately. Robin initially refused to help Art because he thought that Art had killed Newt. However, after Art revealed that Newt died from an overdose, Robin finally decided to help Art and took him to the veterinary clinic to treat his wounds. In the meantime, Frank, who got a text message from Robin, decided to go to Robin's house to check on Mrs. Riley's condition. When Frank was about to enter the house, he saw two men in black suits who were asking Robin's mother about Robin's whereabouts. Upon seeing that, Frank sneaked into Robin's house through the window and pretended to be Mrs. Riley's lover. Frank then chased the two men away by pretending to film them and threatened to post their actions on social media to make them go viral. Not wanting their actions to be known by many people, the two men finally left Mrs. Riley's house, while Frank secretly attached Mrs. Riley's GPS-enabled mobile phone to their car to track the men's movements. After Robin treated his wound, Art asked her if she had ever taken a power pill. Robin replied that she had never taken the pill because she had seen someone overdose and explode from taking the power pills. Art then asked Robin why she became a drug dealer when she was still a high schooler. Robin told Art that she needed a lot of money to pay for her diabetic mother's medical expenses as they had no health insurance. Soon after that, Art intends to continue the search for Biggie alone and tells Robin to go home. But Robin insisted on going with Art by taking Art's car keys. Robin said that she wanted to help Art find his daughter, but she asked Art for $10,000 in return for her mother's medical expenses. Because $10,000 was too much, Art tried to bargain for a lower price, and they agreed that Art should pay $5,000 to Robin if they managed to find Art's daughter. On the way to find Art's daughter, Tracy, Art revealed to Robin that he was once a soldier who was used as an experimental subject by a company called Teleos who intended to turn him into someone with superpowers. Art told Robin that he was once forced to take a power pill, and what happened afterwards was horrific as he lost control and killed many people. A few years after Art took the power pill, Tracy was born, and Art immediately knew that his daughter was special because she never got sick once and showed symptoms that she had superpowers without having to take the pill. Upon knowing that, Teleos then sent men in black suits to kidnap Tracy because they intended to experiment on Tracy to develop the power pill. Shortly afterward, Art and Robin finally arrive at the location where Biggie will demonstrate how the power pill works to potential investors. Art tells Robin to wait outside, while he enters the place and manages to take down a guard. Art then disguises himself as one of the employees so that he can sneak into a secret meeting where Biggie is explaining about power pills to a potential investor named Rose. Biggie tells Rose that the power pills can give superpowers to anyone who takes them, but the superpowers only last for 5 minutes. Therefore, if Rose agrees to invest her money, then they will develop power pills so that the pills can give superpowers to humans permanently. In the meantime, Frank, who was following the men in black suits, accidentally met Robin, who was waiting for Art. Frank then asked Robin about Art because he intended to arrest Art. Robin tells Frank that Art is not a bad person and everything Art did was to save his daughter. But Frank thinks that Art has manipulated Robin with a false story so that Robin will help him. Meanwhile, Biggie then demonstrates how the power pill works by telling a young woman named Candy to get into a glass tank and take the pill. After Candy took the pill, she inherited an ability of thermal regulation, but instead of nude simulation, she can lower the temperature of her own body and her surroundings to extremely low temperatures. Biggie then ordered one of his men to raise the room temperature in the tank to make Candy feel more comfortable while trying to convince Rose about the speciality of the power pill. At the same time, Art approached Biggie with a gun and took him hostage, while Rose and her henchmen tried to get away with the suitcase containing the power pills. Amidst the chaos, one of Biggie's men took a power pill, but his body exploded. The situation became even more chaotic because the shootout that occurred in that place damaged the temperature control device in the tank and caused Candy to die because her body froze. After successfully taking down Biggie, Art then interrogated him to get information about Gardner. At first, Biggie was reluctant to tell Art anything, so Art immediately shot Biggie's hand and forced Biggie to talk while threatening to kill him. Not wanting to be killed, Biggie told Art that Gardner was currently on a cargo ship called Genesis. At the same time, Frank, who entered the place to check the situation after the chaos, then pointed his gun at Art and told him to lower his weapon. When Art and Frank got into an argument, Biggie took the opportunity to drink a power pill that gave him the ability to rapidly increase in size and strength. Art and Frank rushed to escape from the place, while Robin, who was worried about them, tried to find out what was going on and tried to save them. In an attempt to defeat Biggie, who had turned into a giant, Art then shot several gas cylinders in the place, causing the place to explode, and Biggie was killed in the explosion. After making it out of the place, Frank immediately handcuffed Art and intended to hand Art over to his captain, ignoring Robin, who tried to convince him that Art's daughter might be in danger and Art had to save her immediately. Robin then asked Art to reveal everything to Frank, but Art told Robin to go home. Robin, who was upset with Art and Frank, decided to go home, but she saw the men in black suits that Art had mentioned, so she decided to follow them. On the way to the police station, Art told Frank that he had been manipulated by his captain to arrest him. Art confidently told Frank that his captain would tell Frank to take Art to a place other than the police station, which indicated that his captain had been bribed by Teleos. Art also revealed to Frank that they experimented on his daughter to make power pills and would not hesitate to kill anyone, including Frank, if they found out the truth. Upon learning that, Frank decides to trust Art and rushes to leave his car before the men in black suits arrive and kill him. Shortly afterwards, several armed men surrounded Frank's car, which was left unattended on the side of the road. They find Art, who deliberately got himself arrested, but they don't find Frank anywhere. On the other hand, Robin, who was following the men in black suits, finally arrived at a dock and saw them boarding a cargo ship called Genesis. When Robin was about to sneak into the place, Frank arrived to stop Robin and told her to go home. But Robin insisted on helping them, so Frank then told Robin to scout around the docks, while he would find a way to infiltrate the cargo ship. Unfortunately, Frank failed to convince a guard, so he shot Frank several times. Upon seeing that, Robin decided to sneak onto the cargo ship by hiding in a car that was about to be transported onto the ship. Unbeknownst to Robin, Frank had taken a power pill, so he became immune to bullets and managed to bounce back. After taking down a few guards, Frank sneaks into the control room and meets up with Robin, who is visibly relieved to find out that Frank is still alive. Through the CCTV camera, Robin and Frank saw Art being taken to the detention room on the lower deck, so Frank planned to rescue Art with the help of Robin, who would guide him from the control room. While Frank headed to the lower deck of the cargo ship to rescue Art, Robin accidentally found the room where Tracy was kept and decided to go rescue Tracy. In a hallway, Frank was suddenly confronted by one of Gardner's men who had taken a power pill and gained strength that made his body very flexible. Robin, who saw it on the screen, tried to warn Frank through their communication device. However, Frank couldn't hear Robin clearly, so Robin was forced to use the ship's microphone, even though it made them spotted by Gardner and her henchmen. Frank finally managed to defeat his opponent and decided to take the power pill once again, while Gardner then ordered the captain and ship crews to sail immediately. Gardner then sent one of her henchmen named Wallace to capture Robin, but Robin managed to escape from the control room before Wallace arrived. In the meantime, Art managed to convince one of Wallace's men to untie him after he threatened to take a power pill and kill him. But unfortunately, Wallace, who failed to find Robin, then rushed back to the lower deck and confronted Art. Just as Wallace was about to attack Art, Frank arrived in time to threaten Wallace with his gun. However, Wallace managed to knock Frank down, and Art took advantage of that to take Frank's weapon and kill Wallace. On the other hand, Robin finally managed to save Tracy after knocking out a guard and rushed to take her away from the place. Robin then took Tracy to the bow of the ship and finally managed to reunite Tracy with her father, whom she had missed so much. In an attempt to escape from the ship, Art and the others are intercepted by one of Gardner's men named Knifebones, who has taken a power pill that gives him the ability to turn his bones into weapons. Art then ordered Frank to take Tracy and Robin to the lifeboat, while he would fight against Knifebones. Soon after that, Art managed to kill Knifebones, but Robin failed to catch up with Frank and Tracy, who had reached the lifeboat first, so she was then caught by Gardner's henchmen. Gardner then threatened to kill Robin if Art refused to hand Tracy over to her. Having no other way to save Robin, Art swallows a power pill and tells Frank to protect Tracy while he fights Gardner and her henchmen. After swallowing the power pill, Art gains the ability inherited from a pistol shrimp, thus being able to launch powerful heat waves from his body, so he can easily defeat Gardner and her henchmen, killing them. However, this power left Art severely injured and almost lost his life. Surprisingly, Tracy turns out to have the power to heal organic matter, so she is able to save her father. After saving Art, Frank then took them all away from the ship using a lifeboat. The following day, Frank intends to expose Project Power to the press, while Art decides to move on. He gives Robin his truck and a bag full of money to cover her mother's medical needs, telling her to use the greatness inside of her. Art and Tracy depart, finally free. The moral message that we can learn from this film is to never be tempted to get something instantly, because it is very risky. Try our hardest to get whatever we want, even if we have to go through the process for years, because the most important thing is not the results we get, but the experiences that will forge us to be stronger and better than before.